Good afternoon and happy December. We're kind of moving into Christmas, and we are going to be working today on the last block 12 of our 2021 Bernina Groups block of the month. This month you're going to need 3 prints and a solid. Mine's not really solid, it's kind of a grunge, but I'm going to use it. It kind of reads as a solid. And so you're just going to need some scraps. My whole quilt has been scrappy. But be sure and check below the picture for the directions as usual. To cut out your block and follow along with the video. This month it's a little bit tricky, so keep referring to the photo and re-watch the video if you need to. Next month we will be working on setting our blocks together. We're going to talk about making some sashing, maybe some cornerstones. We'll try to decide what we want to do. And then I'm thinking in February we will be getting the quilting done. I'm going to quilt my quilt on my Bernina 770 with my snap hoop and my embroidery module. This is something that I do an awful lot of, and I will take you with me through the quilting process, and then our quilt will be finished. So anyway, let's get going on block 12. As usual, the first thing we're going to do is press all these fabrics with Best Press or Material Magic. We want them really, 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 really starched until they are very, very well stabilized. So I'm going to go and press these, and we'll come back and we'll do some cutting. Okay, from our background, whatever you choose to be your background, it needs to be kind of a solid. Mine's a grunge that kind of looks like a solid. And I'm just going to straighten up my edge here. And we're going to have to cut 10 2.5-inch squares. This block this month has lots of 2.5-inch squares. Alrighty. Alright. 2.5. That's close. I just barely made it. Let's see. Just in case I can't get 10 out of that, and besides that, I think I can get a 2.5-inch strip from this to put in my stash of 2.5-inch strips. I'll just kind of do it now, and it'll be all done. There we go. I've got a jar. I don't know how many gallons it is, but it's a big, big jar that is, when I get a let's see, let me put it on its side. You can kind of see in there that these are all pretty much, there's some other strips in here that are not 2.5 inches, but just about everything that's in there is 2.5 inches. So, and it just sits right here close to me when I'm cutting, and that way I get an awful lot of 2.5-inch strips. That one of my goals, I don't usually make New Year's resolutions, but one of my goals this year was to, now I need my 2.5-inch, there we go, work up all of my scraps and get them ready so that I can put them in a quilt. I just had so many scraps. When you do a lot of quilts, you're going to end up with every size of scrap that there is, and you can have strips. You could have a box of 1.5-inch squares, 2.5-inch squares, 3-inch, 4-inch, you know, just, I usually look and see how big my scraps are and then cut them to size. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's my background strips, and here I have this I can put in my jar. And let's see, these are going to be my outside, my 4-corner outside pieces, and they need to be 2.5 inches square. So we'll just straighten an edge or two, and we'll cut 4 of these. If you're able to keep your scraps organized, it's just an awful lot easier. Alright, this is a batik, so you can see that it creases real easy. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm going to do it on this end first, as close as I can get. Alrighty. I'll just cut it off at 2.5. What the heck? There we go. Alright. Now then. Here we go. Should have just did that in the first place, huh? I was thinking about my scraps. There's my outside corners. Wow, look at that. I don't know if there's anything here to cut off. Ah, yep. There they are. Okay, there's my outside corners. Done with that piece. Now I need 2 2.5-inch squares and 2 rectangles that are 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Let's cut the big ones first. These are just scraps of batiks, and I don't even know where I got them. But that's okay. Alright, what did we say we needed? We need 2 3/4. Alright, let's do that first. And we need 2 of them. And they have to be 5 1/4 inches long, I think. And I'm going to get my 2 1/2 inch squares out of here. Let's see, let me do this first. All right. Okay, this might not be big enough to get 2 1/4 inch. What'd I do with my, here it is. Maybe we can. Okay, there's 2. That's all we need is 2. And these guys we need 2, and I'm gonna kind of put them in the pattern that I have written up. I tell you to put them wrong sides together, but if you've got batiks, you won't be able to tell. I don't think. All right, how much? 5 1/4. Alrighty. Let's use this one. You could make this block with reds and greens and have a Christmas block. Okay, so we're going to cut these in a little while, corner to corner like this, but we're going to wait to do that till we get everything cut out, but we are going to cut those. So now, this is my last print, and from this one, I want the same thing. I think. I need 4 2 1/2 and 2 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so I need more 2 1/2 inch squares from this piece. So let's go ahead and straighten an edge, and then we'll be all set. So we need 2 3/4, 2 times, and then this one you can tell right side out and wrong side out, so let's go ahead and cut this one to 5 1/4. And we'll have that done. All right, there's those, and now we need 4 at 2 1/2 inches. So let's see here, let's do it this way. You can see this one better. Guess you gotta just go with what you can see when you're an old lady. There's 2 at least. Let's cut one more strip. What the heck? All right. Now we should be able to get 4 out of here. Okay. Let's turn it this way. There's 2. And 4. Okay. And we'll do a couple more, just to make sure we got it right. This will be 4 from this print. And this will be everything we need. Oh, we've got to cut out some big squares out of our pink. We got to cut out some big squares. Let me get that ready. Okay, we got to have 2, or I mean, we have to have 4 and 3/4 inch squares from whatever you have chosen for your background. I'm just gonna square up here and then cut 4 and 3/4 by 4 and 3/4. On these 4 and 3/4 inch large squares, we're going to come in 2 3/8 inches, and we're going to make a mark right here on each one of them, all 4 of them. And this is actually the center of this square. And we need to make these into triangles. So we're going to lay our ruler right at the top of that mark and at the very point of this lower corner. So here's my mark up here, and I'm going to cut. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Here is the tip of my mark right here, and down to the corner, right to the very point of the corner. And we're going to just cut. There we go. And there's our triangle. Let's do it again. Here's my mark. I'm going to line it up right at the top of the edge of the fabric where the mark is, and down here to the point, and cut. And one more. And I'm going to do this with all 4 of these. Okay, so I'll do that with all 4 of these. And on your rectangles, you're going to have 2 rectangles that have 2 that are out of 2 different prints. And we aren't going to have to mark these, but we have to cut from corner to corner on them both. So we'll do that. And we need all 4 of these pieces. And we'll cut from corner to corner on this one. And if your fabric has a right and a wrong side, you're going to put these wrong sides together, and I'm cutting them 2 at a time. There we go. And so then we'll put these 2 together. All right, I'll get these other 2 triangles cut out, and we're going to be ready to lay our block out, which is going to make it a lot easier to piece. So everything's cut out, and with this block, it will be easiest to sew it together correctly if we lay out the whole block before we start sewing anything. So these were this was the print that I wanted to use in the 4 corners of my block. Let's start there. So I will kind of lay these out. Let's see if I can scoot some of them over a little more. I'm going to need a little space here. Okay, there's the outer 4 corners of my block. And let's see here. I know I'm going to need several of these grunge blocks, like so. Still not big enough, I don't think. There we go. Maybe this will work. All right. So, and this is my center. These are my center. This is my very center 4 square block unit. I should say unit. So there's that. And I know that all 4 of my triangles are going to go this way, pointing toward the center there. So I'll put them down. Just keep going here. All right. So now I have 2 of my cut rectangles go here, and 2 of my cut rectangles go here. The wide part of the rectangle goes at the top, and the others the same way, like this. Takes a little thinking. They go like this. And now I have here, let's see, yeah, here. And here, I think. And here. Nope. Nope, it goes like this. Here we go. This way. Yeah, there we go. So, I'm going to do it this way. All right, we're cooking. Okay, there's my whole block all laid out. And let's see. So I don't have, let's see, I need more contrast. This is going to be right up against here, so I'm going to switch these just for fun. Let's see how it looks if I do it the other way. I thought I wanted the green on the outer corners, but I like that a lot better. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stitch mine together just like this. And I'm going to start with my triangle units. And the way we're going to stitch these together is we are going to line up that top point, and don't worry that the bottom hangs off a little bit. That's okay. We're going to square these up later, but your top points should come together right at the point. And just don't worry if something hangs off, like so. As long as your points are together and your straight edges together and you're using a really accurate 1/4 inch seam, everything will be okay. So I'm going to stitch this one, and then I'll stitch the second one, and I'll do that on all 4 of my triangles. And I'll be back and we'll see what we got. So we're going to go ahead and stitch these rectangle units to the sides of our triangle unit. And remember when we marked for the center to cut these sides of our triangle, we want that mark at the top. That's the point we want to be sewing from. These 2 points are at a different angle. If you start with one of them, you'll be really disappointed in your unit. So you have to start here at the very top of the triangle. And these are going to look kind of strange when you put them on, but they're going to work out perfectly, I promise. You want to line up the exact point. That point needs to be exact. And then let's put a pin. Some of you might be able to get by without pinning, but I can't. I've got to hold it somehow. And then you want this edge to be nice and straight and even with your triangle piece. There we go. So don't worry that this hangs off this end, and don't worry that this hangs off the side. It's supposed to. What your main concern is that these 2 points match, and that you're even along this edge, and that you're sewing from the marked point down the side of your triangle. So let's do that. We'll do one unit together, and you'll have it all figured out. So I'm just going to do a really accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance here, and just stitch right down the side, not stretching anything because these are bias, so we don't want to stretch anything. And if you pressed your fabric really starched good, you'll be fine. You can peek under there. As you saw, I just took a quick look to make sure everything was okay. So there's one side. And you're always going to press these to the dark or to the outside of your triangle. And it's going to look like this. So let's put the other half on, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to line up these points really right on top of each other and put a pin. And line this edge up perfectly and put a pin. Alright, we're ready to do the other side. Whoops, let me catch my thread here. Alright, here we go. This time we'll start down here at the bottom. Just make sure you catch your pink triangle. And we'll just sew right up. And just don't worry at all about any of these parts that are longer or hanging off, because we're going to trim this to size before we finish up our block. Alright, you can use your stiletto or a pin just to kind of hold this. You don't want this to slide one side to the other at the very tip. So there we go. And you guys can do this. I know you can. I'm so proud of all of you. Okay, press to the dark. And there's our unit, just like that. Got all our triangle units put together. So now we want to just make sure that they're 4.5 inches square. And we want to take off all our sailboat sails. You can't call them dog ears. If you have a dog that spends time with you in your sewing room, if you go around saying, I'm going to trim off the dog ears all the time, it won't be long till your dog figures out that you are doing something rather scary, at least in the dog's view. So I'm just going to go ahead and take off all the sailboat sails and trim, and make sure all 4 of my triangle blocks are 4.5 inches square. And then the next thing we're going to do is put together our 9 patches, and that'll be really easy. You'll just stitch them the way we have done in previous blocks. You'll put these 2 together, these 2 together. You could even chain piece all these if you wanted to. And then when you get them together, you'll put your two patches together. And we will do that, and then we're going to be ready to put our block together. I'm going to kind of line these up so that I know what's what. And then I'll just take them to my machine and chain piece them. If you can't take your patchwork to your machine with you, you know there are design boards that you can make where you can just carry the whole block over to the machine with you. But if you can't, you can take a picture of it with your cell phone, and then just take your cell phone with you over to your machine, and you can see how everything goes. So I'm going to do mine just like this and take them all to the machine with me, and these 2. And when I come back, we'll have all the 4 patches done, and these trimmed, and we'll take a look at where we're at and finish up our block. We're ready to put our block together. We've made all of our units, and this should look really familiar to you because we've done this so many times this year. The only thing you really have to watch for when you're putting these together is these intersections. We want them to be nice and square, and when you are after you have your rows sewn, let's say this is a whole row and this is a whole row, and you're putting these guys together, you want to make sure this seam on your 4-patch unit is matching up right here with this seam on, let me see here, this seam right here on your top of your triangle, right where those threads cross, just to the inside of it, like a needle's width, that's where you want your needle to land as you're sewing across here. And I would sew it from this side up so you can see, but this is your point. You don't want to chop your point off. So come in just one needle's width on this side of that point, and you'll be just fine. So I am going to go now and stitch my block together and come back and we'll measure it and we'll be done with block 12. Okay, here's my block all done. This is what your block should look like, except in your colors. And I pressed everything toward the dark except my triangle units. I pressed them the other way. And all my seams nested just fine when I did it that way. And I've already measured it, and it's like all my other blocks. It's just slightly smaller than 12.5 inches. So it's crazy that all my blocks are a little smaller than what the finished size should be, but they're all the same size, so I think I'll be okay. So block 12, this is our last quilt block that we'll make together this year anyway, and I'm glad that we did this. I hope it helped you get through some of the COVID quarantine, loneliness, aloneness stuff. It did me quite a bit, actually, and I'm kind of an aloneness person anyway. And it's December, and I know everybody is really busy and thinking about the holidays and what to do about family gatherings and things, and I just want you to know that I kind of pray for all of you collectively every day. I pray for the Bernina groups, both of them that I help with, and for the other administrators. I pray for specific people if I see that you're hurting and you've posted in the group, and I think about you. And for those of you that have had loss or you're hurting somehow, I just want you to know that somebody has prayed for you. And I want to wish you just the most precious Christmas that you've ever had. And I know we're going to start off the new year, and we're just going to hit the ground running, and 2022 is going to be something really, really special. So I will see you back here in January, and we'll set our quilt together. You have time to catch up. These blocks only take about an hour or maybe a little bit longer to piece. Cut them out and piece them. So if you're behind, you have plenty of time to catch up. You could do 2 blocks a day for 5 days and be caught up, or 1 block a day for 12 days and be caught up. It's okay. And even if you don't want to catch up, it's okay too, because these videos will always be here on my YouTube channel. And I will put them when we're all done in February. I will put this in a playlist for you. And so I'll see you in January, and we're going to set our quilts together. And then I'll see you again in February, and I'm going to take you with me as I quilt my quilt, doing edge-to-edge quilting on my embroidery module on my 770. So Merry Christmas, be blessed, and just enjoy the rest of your day.